Hey folks, Mrs. Landon here. This week's update, I just want to start by letting you know Skyward should be updated with everything from Chapter 8, including both parts of your Chapter 8 final assessment, and if you did any of those corrections for the multiple choice. So everything should be looking good there. Keep in mind, we have a lot more points coming into the third quarter grade still. So if you're not content with where your grade is, things will absolutely start to kind of wash out a little bit more as we get more and more points. We still have to get chapter 9 and chapter 10 into the grade book. So you're going to see if you're not happy with that grade, it'll water down a bit. If you are happy with it, just keep up what you're doing to maintain that. We do have some quick deadlines coming up for Chapter 9, so I do want to address that. Chapter 8 and Chapter 9 are absolutely fundamental chapters for this last topic of inference testing. So make sure on those confidence intervals on Chapter 8, if you lost points for not checking your conditions, that is a very easily fixable thing, and it's just expected of you. Going forward, whenever they ask you to do a confidence interval from Chapter 8 or a test in Chapter 9, you must check your conditions. You must state the name of the interval or the test. It's very redundant, and you do the same thing. So once you get used to it, it'll just start to become a habit. Taking a look at our deadlines, though, for Chapter 9, last week we did start it off with 9.1 in 9.2, and then we had a mid-chapter free response scheduled for last week. So that means our next mid-chapter deadline is coming up. It is scheduled for this Wednesday at 3 p.m. So you're going to want to make sure you finish 9.1, 9.2 in the mid-chapter free response. Then there is one more section for Chapter 9. On 9.3, you may have some questions on Chapter 9 when it comes to this thing called power. It tends to be kind of a tricky topic for some students. So if you're kind of struggling and scratching your head, you are not alone. Again, it's probably one of the more challenging topics in this entire textbook. But once you get it, it starts to make sense. So if you're struggling with this thing called power, shoot me an email. We could do a Zoom session and I can kind of help better explain it to you, because it's just a little more complicated and sometimes takes a little bit more push to really get it. But then the Chapter 9 test is actually scheduled for not this coming Wednesday, but the following Wednesday is a Chapter 9 test. Now, the deadline for that Chapter 9 test, notice it's only 2 days out later. Normally, you might have a little bit more time. So you're going to have to finish up all of Chapter 9 by that following Friday at 3 p.m. The great thing about that, though, is this Friday, right? You guys are done with school around 11:20 a.m. You would have that entire afternoon if you want to use that as a testing time for the deadline. So it might make wise sense if you're feeling a little crunched right now, just to plan on scheduling and taking your Chapter 9 multiple choice and free response on the deadline day in the afternoon. Hopefully you have that time open, and then just plan around that to get things done. So good luck with Chapter 9. Again, please do not hesitate if you have any questions. Understanding 8 and 9 are going to be so key and fundamental to helping you wrap up this book on 10, 11, and 12. If you get 8 and 9, it just makes 10, 11, and 12 so much easier. So please reach out to me with any questions you have. And I hope everything is going well with you here in third quarter. Take care.